Professor Stark, Mrs. Smith, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to share my experiences during the Feast Must Fall. That was my instructions, that I talk about that. And I'm going to put in some other things that I've been working on currently with some technologies as well. But it's an honor for me to be here, and thank you for the invitation. Okay, so I just want to, a little bit of history about myself. I was first affiliated with the Department of Genetics at the University of Pretoria, and I lectured the molecular and cell biology for 3 years before I was permanently appointed in the Department of Zoology and Entomology. A little bit of background about the module that I'm lecturing in, just so that you can feel sorry for me as well. I hope you will. Module information, it's a second semester module. There's around about 950 students that enrolled for this module. It serves 30 different degree programs. They have 28 lectures for the second semester. There's 2 lectures per week. I currently have 3 lecture groups. So I do each lecture 3 times. And now the part where you need to feel sorry. I have 6 practical sessions during the semester, and I repeat each of those practical sessions 9 times. So it's quite draining. And then I want to put in something that I'm currently working on, is an app for the practical component of the work. So it's a mobile app where the students have information on their cell phones, everywhere accessible, and they can prepare, answer questions, do everything using the app. So that's really something exciting, and it's in its final stages. So we'll see next year how it goes. And then I have 2 semester tests, and the students refer to it as a SIG test. I know it's an undergraduate test, but 1 SIG test right at the end of the semester, and then 1 exam. Just the normal activities in a Zen 161 class is that I use clickers in class. Clickers are truly exciting. There's, I can't imagine how we're functioning without clickers. I saw in the program that there's going to be a presentation on Kahoot, and I assume that that is going to be basically something that can also be replaced by clickers. Okay, so it's clickers in class, peer instruction. It works really well, and I use the clickers to create that situation where students can. It's nice to have a question on the board. Students differ in their opinion, and then you ask them quickly, 2 minutes, discuss, and convince your friend next to you if you think you are right, and give him an opportunity to convince you that he's right. And by doing that, the learning process is so much more enhanced. Okay, so I also use ClickUP. ClickUP is our LMS, our learning management system. It's BlackBoard based. I do small preparation assignments for the practicals so that the students know what is going to take place in the practical. And then also throughout the semester, normally I would have larger revision assignments so that I can make sure that the students know what they don't know so that they can spend some time on that. I also make use of just-in-time assignments. Those are interesting assignments where you open it 24 hours before your next lecture. A few little questions just to get an idea of the understanding of the content that you are going to discuss in the next class. And you close it 2 hours before your lecture. You look at the results, and then you can focus your lecture specifically on those components that the students doesn't really understand. Normally online classes would not be considered until 2016. I'm going to talk about that now. And then online tutorial or revision classes, that is something that I made use of. So I have e-tutors, and I have revision classes, normally the evening before a semester test or the exam. Students are prepared, they know what they don't know, so they can ask it. And I can also go over the most important work. Okay, my teaching philosophy or my approach is self-regulated learning. That is where the students are metacognitively, motivationally, and behaviorally involved in their own studies. So by metacognitive, they need to plan how are they going to approach something, work through the work, do a test, get the results back, analyze, are they happy with the results, are they going to change something if they are not happy, what are they going to change, and work through that. I try my best in motivating the students in class. Normally I have to jump around quite a lot. And then also it depends on their behavior, and they also need to be reminded of that. That if you do not sit and learn, you are not going to understand the work if you don't go through it. And then that means that the students will be active in their own learning, and they need to take ownership of their own learning. And then in 2016, this happened, fees must fall, and then blended learning was used quite often. And e-learning, so what is e-learning? It's using information communication systems, and we deliver text, audio, images, animations, anything that you can think of inside the classroom and outside of the classroom. How does it take place? What we normally feel e-learning is that it's self-paced learning. Students are on their own in a familiar environment. They can relax and they can work through everything at their own pace. They know what they need to concentrate. If the music should be on, they can switch it on. If it should be off, they can create the environment that they want. And it's mainly asynchronous learning, so not a group learning activity. With online classes, what that provides additionally is the two last bullets. There's instructor-led learning, so the instructor can still take the students through the content, and that creates the synchronous learning activity. Okay, combining all of this, that is what I define as blended learning, using the technology in and outside of class, not just adding it onto the module, but making it part of the module. You don't want to create more work for the students, you want to make it easier for the students. That's my view. In BlackBoard Collaborate, in our learning management system, we have BlackBoard Collaborate, and that's a really exciting addition. So that is where I can create virtual classes. So I'm going to mainly speak about these virtual classes. When the Feast Must Fall happened, it was all of a sudden, I communicated a lot with the students through the LMS, but when it happened, everybody was not sure what's going to happen, and then when things stabilized and we realized we are not going to have students on campus, then we had to make some plans. And I let all the students know that on a specific day we are going to have a discussion of the way forward, and I would like their participation in the decision making. And this is the outcome of that whole discussion session. It's an online environment I'm going to show you now, but 600 out of the 950 students participated, so that's really exciting. So I told them how much work we have, what my suggestion is, and this is what we came to. It's the 3 classes per week. They chose it that it would be Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. They selected the time 12:30 to 1:30. It's actually 12 to 1, but I left 30 minutes for in case there's a lot of questions, or students could stay in class afterwards and ask me questions. The dates and the work that will be covered were preloaded onto ClickUP, so that the students could determine, okay, this is a section of work that I really would like interaction with the lecturer, or this one I can do on my own. So they didn't need to attend all of the sessions. And then also I made recordings of all of these sessions, and I uploaded onto ClickUp, so all the students could access the information and what has been discussed in those sessions. So the approach in class, it's not a lot of, it's not much different from what I would normally do in a class. I imported my prepared lecture slides, the ones that I would have presented in class. I presented the lecture as I would have presented in class, and then I replaced the use of clickers with polling as part of BlackBoard Collaborate. And then I could also use questions in class. The students could ask me questions, and I could also find out where are their level of understanding of a specific concept if I ask them direct questions and get immediate feedback. And then, as I said, there was some discussion before and after class. This is what the environment looks like. You have the whiteboard that you can write on, and you can put your presentation there, photo or a video of the lecturer, with class participants, and then you have a chat room over here. I'm quickly going to go through each of these components. The whiteboard itself, that's where you can display your lecture slides. You can draw on their lecture slides if you want to show specific information, you can add additional information, and then you can also do polling during class. And then something really interesting, if there's a question, you could also access any other information on your computer, take a screen grab, and post it on this whiteboard so that all the students can see that information. I just have a short little video just to give you a feel of what the environment looks like. I don't think it was a very exciting session when I listened to this video last night, but it will at least give you an indication of what it looks like.
That means that the water would flow in the same direction. So in this case, we have a large difference between the oxygen levels of the fresh water on this side and the oxygen poor blood on this side. So there will be a quick exchange of oxygen into the blood, but the most effective level that it will reach is 50%.
Okay, so that's just a brief explanation of what it looks like. And then just the polling in class, you'll see this is exactly my
the solutes is exactly the same on both sides, so that will be in the cell and on the outside of the cell. And then D is none. Okay, you can use that polling option where you just previously said yes or no. Now you can select A, B, C, or D.
So that black dot there is just the clicker question, so just as an indication that it's exactly my clicker slide that I just imported, and I could use that for this. Okay, the lecturer and participants, the information there is displayed about the students and about me. You can also have a streaming video, but normally the students had a little bit of a problem with bandwidth. So if you have a streaming video, there's a little bit of lag and disruption. So I just post a photo of myself there so that they know it's me that's talking. And what is very nice is that you can activate or deactivate specific privileges for the students. So if a student asks you a question and you're not really sure what they're talking about, you can open the drawing ability for them and they can draw on your slides. One specific student, and then you can close it again and continue with your explanation. And there's a chat, a video component, so they can talk to you. And then also what's really nice is if they have a question while you are talking, they can raise their hand. Do not interrupt me. Raise their hand, and then in order of raising hands, you can address those questions from those students as well. So that's also really nice. And when you see there's a lot of hands going up, you know that whatever you said now is causing some challenge. So you evaluate your statement or you explain that concept just very well. The room chat, very interesting as well. That's where the students can interact with the other students and they can also interact with me. So the whole thing gets a little bit busy. You can also deactivate this if you want to, but it's really nice because on the right-hand side you can see students helping each other. They have a little bit of audio problem, and then they were trying to suggest some actions to help those students with audio challenges. And then also some good advice. So in the middle at the bottom, the one student asked, is it possible to pass them by only studying the slides? And then the student answered, slides with the outcomes are pretty good, but the textbook slides and the outcomes are excellent. So that is exactly my advice that I would have given to the students. Okay, I want to just briefly say what I think the advantages of these online classes are and why I will be using this during this semester still to come, because I'm on my way to Australia and I'm going to present some of the lectures from Australia as well. So the class can have input in decisions. That's really nice, and it gives the students a voice as well. Students interact with the lecturer immediately in class. It's not a narrated, but I have nothing against narrated PowerPoints, but it's the lecturer is sitting there and telling the whole story. You have no idea if the students are understanding what you're saying or not. So that's a nice interaction. You know when there's a specific issue, And then also you can address questions immediately. I always tell a student, please ask a question if you have it, because if you have that question, there's at least 50 other students that's thinking about that. So please ask it and let's get it out of the way. The sessions are automatically recorded, and those sessions can be provided to the students as it is, or you can go and edit it. So there's few clips that you can make for specific concepts, and you can put that as an additional resource onto ClickUp as well, if you would prefer doing that. And then also, because it's on ClickUp, the students didn't have any expenses, and ClickUp access were for free during those times, and it's still. So that's not causing any access problems. And then also, what is really important is that if students ask questions, they think about how to structure questions. And that is a very important step I think most students should go through. If they type out a question, then they actually need to think, how am I going to ask this question to make sense? And that gives them an idea of how to set up questions. Some portions ensure that the students are actively dealing with the content. It doesn't help you provide everything on the learning management system, but you don't have any way of knowing whether the students are working through it and whether the students are understanding it. So I had revision assignments for them. Those were compulsory. There's a multitude of question options in ClickUp. So those are all the multiple choice, fill in the blank, match columns. And the positive thing about this is there's no grading physically that you need to go and sit and do. It's user-friendly. Students are already comfortable with the environment. And then also you can create the different assignments already, and then you have an adaptive release option where you don't need to physically open it. You can set when does it need to open, when does it need to close. So that's also something nice. And then I just quickly want to mention the e-tutorial classes. So it's tutorial classes that's optional to students through this BlackBoard Collaborate environment. Sessions are scheduled as the need arise, normally before semester tests and exams, because that's when the students know that they don't really understand the work, or which components they do not understand. And they prefer after hours. Normally it's between 6 to 10 at night. So that was also interesting. The approach in these sessions will be that the students can email the tutors in advance. So if they work through something, they find a question, or they need some help with it, they can immediately email that question to the tutor, and the tutor will address that question at the beginning of the session. And then also questions during the tutorial, so there can be some of the formal questions that the tutor asked that will be addressed, and also new questions from the students itself or themselves. And then directly during the e-tutorial session, there's always normally a lot of questions. Okay, the current problems in terms of our normal tutoring is that appointing the best students as tutors, because they have different programs that they need to attend to, they are not always available, and if you have an e-tutor system, it makes it easier. All the schedules are more flexible immediately, and then there can be somehow that these sessions can take place. And then also a lecture venue might be a problem during engineering week on our campus. All the venues are normally booked out because there's exams taking place or tests taking place, so it doesn't create that problem. Some advantages, tutors have access everywhere, students have access anywhere. And as I said, questions. So if you know what the students are struggling with, you know where they are, and they can also feel that we are listening to them, because if you ask a question, it is going to be answered, and that's really important, especially in a very large group, that you don't lose that information. And there's just some of the feedback directly from the students after we implemented this in 2016. Okay, and that is where I'm going to end off. So you are more than welcome to ask me any questions if you have.
Are we okay with time? Questions? Yes, ma'am?
So just a small practical question. What percentage of your students bring their own devices? Or do they sit in computer labs? How's that?
Okay, so in terms of the online classes itself, so they can use any mobile device. So they can use their own laptops, their own tablets, their own cell phones. You can also access it on a cell phone. At that stage in 2016, students were not allowed on campus. So they had to use their own computers. And what they also did is, what was really exciting is they formed little groups that accessed one computer, but there would be a group of 6 students listening to the lecture.
Any other questions? Yes.
Have you gone on to use that now that it's more normalized?
So what I would like to do is to use it now while I'm in Australia for a while, but we use it as e-tutor sessions just for revision classes for the students. So I'm not currently actively using it to replace any of my lectures, but that's definitely what I have in mind for future.
And that is also using Collaborate Ultra.
Yes, that's it.
Any other questions? If you don't have another question for... Yes, ma'am, sorry.
You mentioned that you had 900 students, but 600 participated. So what about the other 300?
So that is why it was very important for me to have those sessions recorded, and so that all the students could have access to it. It's just all of the students could not be active in class at a specific time, and they mentioned that to me as well. Some of the other options on our campus during that time was that a module would get a 2-hour slot. There, I think at some stage only 1,500 students at any stage were allowed onto campus. So if they had a chemistry practical that they had to complete, then the chemistry would take place, but I would still continue with my lecture, and they would just access it afterwards.
Yes, ma'am.
If I may, zoology being a practical subject, did you have any options for handling the practical?
So I immediately opted for a no contact option because I know that the restricted access would be an issue. But at that stage I already had the practical app. So the practical app is really nice. The students can access all the information, their photos, all the characteristics, everything. So the only thing that they missed out on is actually seeing the exhibition in the practical app. But other than that, we could manage completely no contact, face-to-face meeting.
Yes, Yolanda?
Thank you very much for your presentation. I really enjoyed it. I teach in architectural technology, and we use the webinar platform for student presentations and formative feedback on student projects. Have you used this tool for the students taking the lead in presenting work?
So the only time that the students will take lead is when it's the tutors talking to the students, and when the students are actually explaining what they are not understanding, or if they are asking questions. That's the only way. But there's definitely potential for creating group discussions, anything with it.
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to find out, being here in such a large group, how do you deal with ethical issues where some students might be not doing the work done by another student?
So one of the problems initially about the whole online access was that not all students could afford a SIM card to put in their phones or on their laptops and tablets to have access to the information, but the university did supply SIM cards to all the needy students. So everybody were on fair playing ground in terms of the information that I supplied and the information that they could access. And then also I had a few students that asked me if I could meet them off campus, which I did if they had a few questions, because one thing doesn't work for all students. So there has been a few exceptions, but overall this worked for definitely most of the students.
Thank you very much, Carel, for your presentation. I'm just not going to say much about it. I can only say that most of us are not using the BlackBoard well. And you've seen he has used it very well. You can also do it. There are so many features in Blackboard that can enhance your teaching and learning if you set to use them and use them very well. And you don't have an excuse not to do it because we've got the support to do it. So you are welcome to approach us and see how you can actually enhance student interaction and interaction with you. Because really, if there's no interaction in your classroom, then you know you are just doing surface learning. There isn't really much learning happening. With that, I would like to thank Carel, I'm not saying the surname, for sharing with us a good presentation and taking time to be with us. We just have a small thing for you. We hope you enjoy it. You're welcome. You're welcome.